Good evening, everyone. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Education. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. Schedule of regular meetings of the Board of Education was adopted at the reorganization meeting on January 7th, 2025. The schedule and notice of said meetings have been posted and are maintained in the interior window of the exterior door to the school administrative offices, mailed to the Retrospect and the Courier Post, and filed with the clerk of the Borough of Oaklyn. All the foregoing has been done within the time required by law in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. And roll call.
Mr. DeMarco.
Here.
Mrs. Falpel.
Here.
Mrs. Love.
Here.
Mrs. Marmion.
Here.
Here. Sorry. I think the volume's on like one of the sides or something. Sorry, Mr. Rotondo. Mr. Schaefer.
Here.
Mr. Stotts.
Here.
Mr. Tatey.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There'll be no executive session tonight, so we're going to jump right into 3.1, which is our presentations. We have our student safety data systems report.
Good evening. So this is a nice short report again for you. This is the data that we entered into the student safety data system for the months of September through December. We had 2 HIV investigations. One was confirmed, one was not, and 0 incidents leading to removal for any other incidents, and 4 student restraints during those 4 months. We also had our beginning of the year training, so when we do our welcome back, I train all the staff on our HIV procedures and whatnot. They also do a GCN on the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights in New Jersey, and the classroom teachers go over HIV and our school policy and procedures in September. We also did a couple of cool programs. We always celebrate the Week of Respect, Violence Awareness Week, Red Ribbon Week. We did a World Kindness Day this year, focusing on reaching out to the Tyler Quinter Foundation and supporting them, so that was something new. We enjoyed that. Inclusive Schools Week, and of course we are September to December with our Character Strong lessons, and September to December with our HAWK program for Character Ed. And that's a wrap. Any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
You mentioned 2 restraints.
4, yes.
4 restraints?
4.
Okay. They're not really restraints, are they? They're separating the students from the rest of the class? Like put them in a separate room?
No, I have to report it as a restraint if somebody puts somebody in a hold. Like a CPI certified restraint.
I'm sorry, I misinterpreted what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're all trained. There was 2 separate students with a total of 4 restraints.
I was thinking handcuffs.
No, no, we don't do that. No, just for their safety sometimes, if they're gonna like bang a head or hurt themselves in any way, sometimes have to go there. Thank you.
Let's move on to Committee of the Whole. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
So moved in second. And we're going to open up Committee of the Whole with a presentation from our business administrator.
Vicky.
So as promised in the retreat, this is the same slide presentation, but I have updated it for budget purposes as of today, basically, or Friday, I should say. Should I do a mic?
I think so, for the live stream.
All right. I don't like these things. Okay. So, again, our vision and mission statement all of this is left unchanged from the board retreat, just why we do what we do, and how we go about preparing a responsible budget for the taxpayers in Oaklyn. Our main goal is obviously our kids and promoting student achievement. And we'll go into the fun of trying to balance the lack of state revenues with our increasing expenditures. And Mrs. Bowden came to the board office today, but we meet with all the administrators, both in Collingswood and Oaklyn. And we talk about the budget, basically, and seeing what's in there and how what they budgeted is going to impact student achievement. School budget calendar, you guys have approved this in the fall. I want to get to the meat of this. So on your left-hand side, you guys saw this before, but these are your sources of state revenue. State aid, which we know has been woefully inadequate in the state of New Jersey. Federal aid, the status of which is questionable at the moment. Local taxes, tuition on a case-by-case basis, and miscellaneous income, which is like your interest, any shared service income that we've got coming in, and all of our expenses. Salaries, benefits, any capital projects, supplies, curriculum, out-of-district special education tuition, busing, and your utilities. Those are your biggest line items. So this is what I know as of Friday. And again, this is absolutely changing. So by law, the board is limited to a maximum 2% tax levy increase, unless you qualify for certain adjustments that are in the budget software. The only one that we would qualify for right now would be a healthcare adjustment, and you do qualify. About $88,000 to $90,000 worth. Healthcare is out of sight this year, and not so much on the healthcare side, but on the prescription side, because of the weight loss drugs and the diabetes medications. They're causing the RX rates to skyrocket. So by law today, I could increase Oakland's tax levy to support the schools by 3.5%. Okay? So what does that mean on your budgeted revenues? I can increase it by $218,260. We do right now have a loss of revenues of $294,000. I should say overall, I shouldn't say loss of revenues. We have a negative balance when I take all the expenses that Mrs. Bowden entered and I entered into the budget software and I compare it to my revenue projections. We're obviously upside down. That's no surprise, and I don't want anybody to panic, because we met with Mrs. Bowden today and Ms. Soloway, Dr. McDowell, Meredith, and I. There's a plan. There's always a plan. But the good news for Oaklyn is Collingswood during 23-24 charged more in tuition to our sending districts than it would actually cost per pupil, which means Collingswood owes Oaklyn back money in tuition. If we didn't have that, this would be a lot worse. Okay, so Collingswood owes Oaklyn about $162,000 in tuition. So again, if we didn't have that credit coming from Collingswood, we'd be in a much, much worse position. Yes, ma'am.
For as much as I'd love to hold them to the end, it's easier with the slide on the board. So the second bullet, if we have 218 in additional revenue, is that going to pay for the healthcare increase, and are we really at net neutral, or is that in addition to what we would have?
It doesn't pay 100%. The state will not give you 100% dollar for dollar increase on your healthcare for the healthcare adjustment. What they do is they look at the state healthcare, the state health benefits plan, which I'm sure you've heard about all over the paper. The state has their own health plan. I won't say artificially because it sounds like they're making it up, but they kind of do make up their numbers. They come up with what their rate should be. And then every school district that has a healthcare plan that is not in the state health benefits plan, on a regular basis, we have to prove to the state that we're not in their plan because we save more money being outside of the plan, which we do. But they limit our increase in the healthcare adjustment to what the state health benefits plan is. So there is a limit to how much I can put in. And I tested that theory today because I just started throwing everything in the line to see what would happen. So we are limited in how much of an increase. So it's not net neutral for
So
all.
it's a deficit. It's not covering the health care.
It doesn't cover 100%, never does.
So when we see the 294 in bullet 3, is that deficiency lumped in there?
Yeah, that's the entire net deficiency.
Thank you.
Yep, and you'll see it in the next spreadsheet, and I apologize. It's kind of hard to read, but here's where I think we might be okay. There's a couple ways. I don't want everybody to panic. That's my job. So, left-hand side where it says sources of revenue, you'll see where I highlighted stabilization aid, $274,000. Now, last year we got cut $600,000 in state aid unexpectedly. We were not planning on it because we weren't one of the S2 districts that Governor, I should say, I almost slipped and said Governor Sweeney. Senator Sweeney, when he identified the, you're right. Anyway, I'm like a stand-up comedian tonight. I really should give you a mic. But they took $600,000 away, and like Teresa always says, they caused a panic, everybody screamed, and then all the school districts that lost state aid, they gave us like money back. So Oaklyn got $274,000 back in like July. Which was good, not great, so we still had to cut our budget about $400,000. But if you look at the deficit, where it says dollar change all the way down, bottom row, here's your 294, then upside down. We lost the $274,000. I did not include that revenue in our budget because I don't know if the state's going to, when they give us our state aid, I don't know if that dollar amount's going to be in base state aid or not. So I'm assuming it's not, because when they gave it to us, they said this is a one-time gracious gift or something. There was some kind of language in it when they awarded it to us, so this was a one-time thing. So I'm assuming they're not doing it again. But you don't know. So if they do it again, you're okay. 20 grand, we can figure that out. If not, there are things that we can, there are supplies and some curriculum things. Mrs. Bolden went through, she was amazing by the way, went through her budget, and all of the things that, if you remember last year when we did get cut, a lot of the things that she needs for the school, supplies, math curriculum, reading curriculum, all that we bought with our expiring federal funds. So all those got put back in the budget this year. She made 3 columns for me, like what she had to have, what would be nice to have, like, and what she could live without and still run the school. So if we have to trim back to meet that number, I'm pretty confident that between Jen, Steve, my assistant, and myself, I think we can get there. But what's not known is that 274. If that's included in our base number next Thursday, we're pretty good. If it's not, I think we can get there, but we're going to be, how did Jen put it today, next year's going to be a lot like this year. We're going to have what we need, but not a whole lot of anything else. Okay, and then, so what we don't know, state aid. The governor presents next Tuesday. I think he speaks at 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then by law, within 48 hours, he has to notify us of what our state aid is. So by dinner time on Thursday, you'll be getting emails from me. And also what I don't know is any emergencies that come up between now and June 30th. Any additional out-of-district placements or any additional homeless placements, any of those things, all bets are off. And then some ways that we are being creative with our revenues and our shared services. We share Mrs. Soloway, we share a pre-K nurse, we may be sharing a pre-K secretary next year, and of course, Collingswood rents space in the building. So we've done everything we can in this district to increase the money we bring in to support our children. And so right now we're probably looking at adding a pre-K secretary to shared services. The pre-K budgets don't come out till March, so that will probably be coming to you in March or April. And sorry, back. And like I said earlier, the governor, the commissioner, today released a memo to all school districts in the state of New Jersey. I think they were trying to quell the panic, but I think they created a little bit. So the letter went to all school districts, and basically they said in preparing our budgets, normally they stay quiet until the governor speaks, but today they sent out a memo saying something in the effect that in any case, no school district should see a reduction of more than 3%, or something to that effect. So everybody's like, what's that mean? So if you looked at the sentence and wrote, total K-12 school aid will not be reduced by more than 3%. So the way I read it is his budget. When he says total K-12 school aid, that means the line item in his budget, not necessarily each school district's budget. So what does that mean? Worst case scenario, we're cut 3%. But there again, it's going to be different district by district because some districts are probably going to get more money because they have an increase in enrollment. Some will be held flat. But I think in preparing his budget, he's probably looking at a 3% overall decrease is the way I read the memo, but we'll know more next week. What I don't know, again, we're doing our budgets not knowing what's going on in Washington. Pending whatever happens with the DOJ and what they're doing with the Department of Education in D.C., we do get money for our special ed children, and we do get money in Title I and Title II. And that could have a direct hit on our budget going into next year. And that impact, we just don't know. Trenton doesn't even know. They're really not giving us a whole lot of guidance on that. However, any reduction in federal aid is going to negatively impact every single school district in the country. In this district, we pay some teachers in Title I, and it's a lot of our out-of-district special ed tuition is paid for with IDEA. So those costs would have to be absorbed into the local budget that is already very tight. So, didn't mean to be Debbie Downer. If anybody watched this Saturday Night Live thing the other night, it's like, I'm not Debbie Downer. But I wanted you to know where I was in the process. So as of Friday night, this is where I was with the Oaklyn budget. But I do see light at the end of the tunnel, depending on that 274, and we have a plan if we don't get it. It won't be great, it won't be what we want, but the goal is to maintain Jen's staff and not impact them. And I think we can get there without impacting them right now. If the federal government starts to monkey with us, then that's going to be a whole other ball of wax. But I think there's probably going to be lawsuits if that happens. Any questions, board?
I have a question. Thank you, first of all, for all of the cartwheeling and everything that you and Ms. Bolden and Fred and Meredith and everybody have been doing. I think some of us are watching really closely what recently went on in Collingswood, and don't know if that's something that we want to raise, think about, talk about. They had a conversation with the borough. I'm also curious about, there's been a lot published about the 83% that the borough supports the schools compared to, I might be getting the numbers wrong, and I'm curious what Oaklyn's number is. Do you happen to know that, or is that something we can find out?
I can find out. Oaklyn's a little different boat. Each town's going to be very different. You guys are not deemed under adequate in your budget, meaning the taxpayers pay their fair share here. So as far as being able to, could we appeal to the town and say, hey, raise more taxes and give it to us? Sure. But the case in Collingswood is their local fair share is about $5.6 million more than I'm allowed to ask for with a 2% cap. And I'm never catching it. Every year it gets worse. And it's really been multiplying at an astronomical rate since about 2018, 2019. So we can't catch it at 2%. So what's happening is our budget gap is just widening. And then we've been getting by every year with these, let's use our surplus, let's do a shared service, like we're raising little pots of revenue, but we're not catching up with the costs. We're not catching up. We're not the only district in the area. I know Evesham's upside down. I was on the phone with Haddon Township last week. Everybody's having that problem, but the uniqueness with Collingswood is the ability to pay. When we get our state aid printout, it's very clear. The state determines each town's local fair share or ability to contribute to the school district via taxes based on the wealth of the town and the property values. And there's about a $5.6 million swing between what Trenton thinks Collingswood should be paying versus what they actually are, and I can't catch it because each year I can only go up by 2% unless I get an adjustment for health care. So they do have that ability. So we also call it the Robbinsville. I don't know if you've heard people say this before. If you're on the I forget what it's called now, the advocacy funding group that we're in. Robbinsville is a school district in Mercer County. Similar situation to what's been going on in Collingswood, that their costs are just going crazy. So last year they did a referendum in March. And they did the referendum specifically to close their budget gap. deficit. Now, the law that they cited is the law that gives the boards the ability to go to the taxpayers and do bond referendums for capital. But the law doesn't say just for capital. The law just says, gives the boards the authority to go to the people to increase taxes for blah, blah, blah. But that's the law that they use when they say we can go 4 times a year to taxpayers for capital bond work. Robbinsville used it to close their budget hole. What's not known, first of all, brilliant. I called the BA and I was just, wow, like, why didn't anybody think of this? I couldn't get the Mercer County superintendent or the Mercer County business administrator on the phone because they wouldn't speak to me, because Trenton obviously was not happy with Robbinsville, because Robbinsville went right around the capital. So what's not known is what's going to happen to Robbinsville with their state aid this year. Are they going to be penalized because they went around the 2% law and they went around the state capital? I don't know. So what we did in Collingswood is kind of Robbinsville-esque. We're kind of doing the same thing without going to the voters, because the borough, we did check with our auditor and our attorneys. You can ask your borough, and the borough can raise taxes on your behalf and give it to the school district. So that is what Collingswood is asking their borough to do. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I'm still just curious about what the fair share percentage is in Oaklyn.
I think you guys, I think you are above the 50% line. I can get that from, I can call Bonnie. The issue with Collingswood is they're at 47%, where everybody else is 52% or more. So that gap is just widening every year, so. Any other question?
Yeah, but do we have any grants that will be expiring by the end of the year?
No. Right now, all that's in your budget is your ESEA grant, which is Title I and Title II, Title IV, and IDEA, just the two. And again, you get your PEA grant, which is your pre-K grant, but that's from the state. But federally, just the two. Any questions? Like I said, once I get state aid, I'll let everybody know next week. Okay?
Just a couple quick comments for committee of the whole, and then if anybody has topics, we can roll into that. Just an update from committees. We're currently working on the 25-26 school calendar. We have a committee that represents administration staff from both Collingswood and Oaklyn, and are doing some significant work on that. So stay tuned. That'll be out shortly for us to review. Just a couple points on the budget. Every year we get to go down to Atlantic City for the school board's convention, and one of the best professional learning experiences I continue to enjoy. But in a lot of ways, what is happening with the budget currently is almost like sitting at the blackjack table. And Oaklyn now, for the last couple of years, we've come up with 21, but the dealer doesn't lose. And so in school boards, a lot of these budget-related workshops, they refer to the fiscal cliff that's pending. So just a couple of points I really want to highlight and for the board to think about and for the community to be aware of. Again, if we have flat funding, if we don't have these lucky windfalls, we're looking at about a $300,000 deficit because we can't go above that 2% cap, the way the funding formula currently works. The only reason why we didn't get hit so badly last year was because we were able to take the majority of our curriculum funding and put it into the remaining COVID funds. So that long-term, that's going to be, we're going to be falling off the cliff. We've been very lucky with the stabilization aid, with Collingswood reimbursement, as Ms. Coleman just presented, with the healthcare reimbursement adjustment. Those are all great, but those aren't things that we can rely on year after year after year. Again, with that 2% cap, Mrs. Coleman mentioned two of the biggest areas that impact our budget are transportation and out-of-district placements. That would be for students with IEPs that we don't have the programming to support. Just to make it clear, transportation and out-of-district placements, don't have a cap. So we're at their mercy. As Ms. Coleman mentioned, if those are things that can just pop up like that. So I would encourage, everybody on the board, everybody in the community. There's the New Jersey Fair Funding Collective, that's njffc.org. They're hosting events where you can contribute comments, feedback electronically or in person. The next event is actually tomorrow night. And that is, Haddon Township High School Media Center, so right around the corner. We need to continue to make our voices heard and to address this, because we're hanging on by a thread, and we're not at the cliff yet, but we're pretty close. And like I said, the dealers, they're not going to let us keep winning. So, we need to continue to advocate for that. Thank you. Any other topics for Committee of the Whole? Comments, questions on the budget? All right. Motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
So moved and seconded. All right. I might jump into...
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, 5, right? All right. Looking up at item 5.01, we have our important dates, upcoming meetings. Should I read through those, or is it just, they're on the agenda, on the public agenda. So you can check your agendas for important dates.
I actually have a question on March 17th, it says 20th Spring Conferences. Is that a typo?
To the 20th.
It's, I'm good, guys, I'm good. It's been a long day. Thank you.
I thought I was missing. I was like, is it 20? We got it. We're here.
All right, moving on to item 6, routine board business. 6.01, we have approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
So moved and seconded.
Favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on to item 7. So our first public comment section for the evening. Please remember to stand, state your name and address. There's usually a sign-up sheet. I don't see it, though. That's okay. State your name and address. The purpose for this first public comment section is to discuss items on the agenda. Additional, more general comments can be made later in the meeting during the second public comment. Public's reminded to keep all comments to 5 minutes or less, and any attempts to resolve concerns or complaints should first go through the appropriate staff members or administrators. Do we have any public comments? All right. Hearing none, we will close the public comment section. Moving on to item 8, Superintendent's report.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Section 8.01 is the enrollment report. January of 2024, enrollment was 269. January of 2025 is also 269, and that is attached. 8.02, 03, and 04 are the accompanying safety drill, suspension, and anti-bullying report. And just have one announcement, positive announcement that we would like to share. And so next week at the Collingswood Board of Education meeting, the high school and the board will be recognizing former student Xander Stutzman of Oaklyn for achieving the prestigious rank of Eagle Scout in Troop 3179. Xander began his scouting journey in 2017, earning his first merit badge in fingerprinting, and over the years demonstrated commitment and leadership, progressing through the ranks and attending summer camps at Roosevelt Scout Reservation. His dedication led him to earn the ranks of Tenderfoot in 2019, second class in 2021, and first class later that same year. Despite the challenges of the pandemic, Xander remained actively engaged in scouting, participating in an adventure at Yawgoog Scout Reservation, and serving as senior patrol leader. His leadership skills flourished as he was elected senior patrol leader for the 22-23 term. He earned the rank of Star Scout in October of 2022, Life Scout in June of 2023, and joined the summer camp staff, where he was recognized for strong work ethic and commitment to service. During his senior year at Collingswood High School, he took on the role of Junior Assistant Scoutmaster while completing his Eagle Scout requirements. For his Eagle Scout project, he led the planning and construction of a Gaga pit at the Oaklyn VFW Park in June of 2024. Following graduation, he returned to work at Camp Yawgoog before completing his Eagle Scout Board of Review on January 2nd, 2025, officially earning the rank of Eagle Scout. And so we would like to, we will be reading a public proclamation next week, but we would like to commend Xander for his dedication to scouting, leadership, and service to the community. His achievements exemplify the values of hard work, perseverance, and civic engagement. Currently, Xander is studying pre-med and neuroscience at Ramapo College, and he plans to continue serving in scouting as a member of summer camp this year.
All right, on to item 9, Business Administrator, Board Secretary report.
All right, this evening in 9.01 is your January 2025 monthly transfer report. 9.02 is your Board Secretary and Treasurer's report, as well as all the related backup documentation. 9.03 is a listing of the purchase orders issued during the month of February. 9.04 is a listing of the warrants, basically your checks that will be sent out tomorrow morning pending approval this evening.
Thank you. And we're going to move on to item 10, which is Finance, Buildings, and Grounds Committee. Report from our committee we have for approval tonight. Item 10.01, which is the approval of the budget transfers. Items 10.02 and 10.03 is the approval of certifications of no over expenditures. 10.04 is the approval of Secretary Treasurer reports. 10.05 and 10.06 is the approval of purchase orders and warrants. And then under new business, we have 10.07, approval of the 2025-26 tuition rates for students attending Oaklyn School, and that's for pre-K to 5. And 10.08 is the approval of the 2025-26 nursing services agreement with the Collingswood Board of Education, payable to Oaklyn for $30,038. All right. Any questions or comments on finance? Yeah. Do we comments first? Motion first, sorry. Can I get a motion to approve the Finance, Facilities, and Shared Services report?
So moved.
Second.
Second? Any comments or questions? Just one quick comment pertaining to budget that came up during discussion. As Ms. Coleman mentioned, the tuition numbers were down this year, so we have a bit of a windfall. However, resource center costs are up a little bit on our end at Collingswood High School. That varies year to year depending on student needs. So just something to be mindful of as we continue to look closely at the budget and look at that. All right, and on a vote.
Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
Mrs. Falpel? Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mrs. Marmion? Yes. Mr. Rotundo?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Stotts?
Yes.
Mr. Tavy?
Yes. All right, and item 10 passes. Moving on to item 11. Oh, big wow, yeah. Moving on to item 11, Curriculum and Personnel Committee, Mr. Schaefer.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Item 11.01, we're looking to approve 3 field trips in the spring, kindergarten, 3rd grade, and 4th grade. Item 11.02, this did come in after committee. It was emailed to us, emailed to the committee on Thursday, so hopefully everyone got to see that. It is the Big Wow exclamation Voorhees Animal Shelter presentation. I remember from last year. So they will be coming in April to present. That's free of charge. They also did supply their insurance information as well. Item 11.03, we're looking to accept the retirement of Maria Garrison, effective July 1st. Item 11.04, we're looking to accept the retirement of Michael McCarty, effective July 1st as well. So we wish both those teachers the very best and thank them for their years of service to Oaklyn and to the district. Item 11.05, we're looking to approve the following tutors. And that would be it. So we're seeking approval on items 11.01 through 11.05.
All right, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any comments or questions?
Yeah, question on, just clarification, the AWA, are they bringing in animals? Is the AWA bringing any animals to this?
Not planned by me, but I'm pretty sure, yes.
Pretty sure yes?
Yes. But it was not planned by me. It was the preschool coaches.
Okay, in that case, I've got a question, or a problem with the certificate of insurance that we have. Doesn't include us as an additional insured.
All right, I'll get a new one.
It didn't state specifically, I mean, it's a fair question, it didn't state specifically that if they were bringing animals, they did say there's like a classroom activity, but it was not clear if it actually involves the animals or not. So that, fair question, but it wasn't clear in the write-up.
Okay, well, as long as we can get a new certificate before that happens, that's fine.
Sorry, I was taking notes.
Lauren from preschool 13 said that she did.
Oh, yeah, I'll let my secretary reach out tomorrow.
It's pretty easy to get a new insurance certificate.
Any other questions? Just want to echo Mr. Schaefer's sentiments and thank Ms. Garrison and Mr. McCarthy for all their years of service. They will be missed next fall. But I'm sure they will be enjoying their retirement already. So, they have to wait a year, don't they? All right, on the vote.
Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
Mrs. Falpel?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mrs. Marmion?
Yes.
Mrs. Rotundo?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Stotts?
Yes?
Mr. Tooby?
Yes. All right, item passes. Now moving on to item 12, School Community Relations and Policy Committee. Mrs. Marmion.
Hi, item 12.01 is a report from Collingswood, but Mr. McMillan is missing, so, is absent today. He's not missing. God, I'm batting 1,000 tonight. So we will table that report to next month. Item 12.02 is the PTA liaison report. Ms. Rotundo.
Good evening, everybody. I'm just looking at my notes here. The last meeting was on February 4th. Some of the highlights include that currently we have 134 current members, and the PTA is always looking for new memberships. So putting that out there for anybody who may be interested and willing to contribute. Ms. Bolden reviewed some administrative updates, thanking everybody for the winter event, Matt Spade Photography, blood drive volunteers. Shout out to Therese always with blood drive, and those volunteers who step forward with the book fair, which is always a nice event here. She also shared the spring conferences, everybody's favorite weeks coming up. Thank you to everybody who supported the Hawk program. Today, is today the 18th? Yeah, today the preschool lottery form went live, so anybody looking to enroll can enter that through our website, and kindergarten registrations also open. Nurse Jen and Nurse Mary are looking for clothing donations, pants a little bit more specifically in need at this time. Just trying to see what else we have on here noteworthy. Oakland Little League, some community announcements were made on that front with a variety of programs. I do think that registration may have just closed, but I don't want to misspeak. I think that one's
We did,
3 days
yeah.
ago. The new business coming up, and a few of these were covered in the upcoming dates on the agenda, but there are PTA Family Reading Experience is on the 28th, and the big event of the year is the talent show. Registration to the deadline to register did apply, but right now we're in the midst of all the rehearsals, and the kids are coming forward to show their routines, and that will be March 14th. Readathon is the first week of March. There's a family fun night, Glow, on 3/28, which is sponsored by OMASEC. Teacher Appreciation Week, it's February right now, but we're talking about May. It's May 5th to May 9th, so we do need a chair and a co-chair for those events. There's fifth grade promotion stuff that was going on, concession selling for Lego Night and the talent show. Signs for the graduates are available to purchase. Blue and Gold Night details, pool party at Roberts is an upcoming event. I don't think any of those dates have been established just yet, but that's all busy planning right now. Spring Fling, date not concrete, but the basket auctions that I think temporarily went away last year are coming back, right? And then just the usual stuff. The next meeting is first Tuesday, right? I think it's, is that March 4th?
Yeah.
March 4th. And that's a wrap.
Well done, thank you. Item 12.03 is the OMASAC report. Mr. Tavy.
Thank you. Just a couple quick updates from OMASAC. Next event is the gym night, which will be on the 21st. Mrs. Rotundo mentioned the Glow Night on the 28th as well, at the end of the month. And OMASAC, the team is looking to do some collaboration with the PTA on some school assemblies as well, and there'll be some updates on that shortly.
Thank you. Item 12.04 is the Oakland Education Foundation report. Mr. Schaefer.
All right, so I believe on January 25th, OEF had a meet and greet at Common Grounds. I wasn't able to attend, but shout out to Common Grounds for hosting. I heard it had a pretty decent turnout, and President of OEF, Susan Dybus, then made a presentation, I believe, at the PTA meeting. I hope to be meeting with Susan and to kind of discuss some things and have a little more substantial update for you guys next month. And that's it.
Thank you. Item 12.05, we're looking for approval of the HIB reports from the previous month that are attached. Item 12.06, our policies up for a first reading. 5516 is a revision of the use of electronic communication devices, and 5701 is a revision of the academic integrity policy. Item 12.07 are policies for second reading. This is 5512 is the harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Revised policy 5533, student smoking. 7441, electronic surveillance in school buildings and on school grounds. 9320, cooperation with law enforcement agencies. There's one regulation that is up for one reading, and that is 5533, student smoking revised. Right? And that has 3 here, but it's just this one. There are 3 listed. Just checking on that. And that's actually a policy and not a regulation, so hang on. We might have to table this one. There is a regulation for 9320, but it's not attached on the public part.
This is yeah, it's messy. I'm going to table the whole thing.
We'll table it to next month. Sorry about that. So we are seeking approval for items 12.05 through 12.07.
Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. Any comments or questions? I just had a quick question on 5111. That was originally on there for a first read, but there was so much back and forth since committees. Just wanted to check in on that one.
Yeah, so we've been trying to, anytime Strauss Esme sends us a long list of policy regulations, to try to keep it to 5. But there was a lot of back and forth with that one that there wasn't enough time to have clarity on. So we'll get that one back up next month, yeah.
All right, on the roll call.
Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
Mrs. Valpel?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mrs. Marmion?
Yes.
Mrs. Rotundo?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Stotts?
Yes.
Mr. Tavy?
Yes. All right, item passes. Moving on to item 13. Under miscellaneous, we have our state memorandum of agreement between education and law enforcement officials.
They're supposed to be in the attachment. Yes, it's not in there? Table that.
All right, we will table that one for next month.
So the actual signing event is later this month, and so it's actually not a binding agreement until all the signatures have been.
Table it or not?
Yeah, I think we should
Yeah,
table it.
it's not attached.
Yeah.
All right, we'll table that for next month. Moving on to item 14, this is our second public comment section of the night. Please remember to stand, state your name, and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. This public comment section is for any items. Public is reminded that attempts to resolve all concerns and complaints should go through the appropriate staff members and administrators. Any comments from the public? Hearing none, we'll close our public comment section. And item 15, motion to adjourn. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. And on a vote? Oh, no, we're just, yeah, all in favor. Yeah, we're not voting on this one. All in favor?
We are a mess. We are a mess.
Good night.
I'll take my own responsibility. Don't bring everyone, I didn't mean to bring everybody else down.
Didn't even notice that it wasn't attached.
Yeah, sorry.